I think that opening game against Florida, particularly because Florida also has an inexperienced problem at quarterback. Felipe Frakes has never played, redshirt freshman. He's never played a down of college football. And Malik Zaire, everybody's talking about, boy, this is a game-changing addition for the Gators. Let's just keep in mind his body of work, all right? The first time we saw Malik Zaire, Mark, his redshirt he was coming off a redshirt season in 2014, didn't play the whole year. They put him in the Music City Bowl. There's no film on him at all, and he's out there running the zone read, and LSU is caught flat-footed, right? So that's game one. The next year, we come back in the offseason. They open up against Texas, and he's incredible in that game as a Joe Montana-like QBR. But remember, that was arguably the worst Texas defense of all time. 8 of Texas's 12 opponents that year scored at least 30 points against them. And the very next week, they went on the road to Virginia in the rain, a game that Notre Dame was losing when Malik Zaire got hurt in the second half, and Deshaun Kaiser came off the bench and saved that game with a late touchdown pass there that sort of sent his career on his way. And that's it. I mean, other than a couple of spot snaps last year in the opener against Texas, that is the body of work for Malik Zaire. And then, Florida's offensive coordinator is Doug Nussmeier. What was Doug Nussmeier's last gig before he went to Florida? Michigan, where he took a quarterback named Devin Gardner, very much like Malik Zaire, a guy who in 2013 against Notre Dame was the Walter Camp National Player of the Week for the numbers he put up in prime time. And the next year in 2014, he tried to make him a West Coast pro-style quarterback, and that was a disaster. It was the season that got Brady Hoke fired. So, we'll see. I think Malik Zaire obviously is a talented young man. He's also a guy that hasn't really played all that much and certainly hasn't played in a pro-style offense. So I think given the inexperience factor that the Gators have, the amount of new players both of those teams are going to be breaking in, I think that game is more than likely going to be a slugfest. 21-24 points wins that game. And so I could see Harbaugh saying, you know what, if we can just get past this game, the next 6 weeks, I got a lot of opponents I can tinker with before we have that roadie at Penn State. So, yeah, I think the schedule has a lot to do with Spate's advantage right now.
Steve, the points are well taken. I'll take a bit of a counterpoint on Malik Zaire. Not that I think that he's the second coming of Joe Montana. Not that you were comparing quarterback styles. You were alluding to, of course, his tremendous passer rating in the NFL as being maybe the greatest of all time. Malik Zaire, though, my remembrance of that body of work, and I'm going to take it backwards, was the Virginia game I did not watch. There were better games to be watched at that point, but in watching the bottom line, Notre Dame just pulled off the big win last week. They're a top 10 team. They're being upset at Virginia. I tuned in, saw Zaire get hurt, and saw Deshaun Kaiser throw a beautiful pass over the shoulder of, I believe, William Fuller for the game-winning touchdown. The week before, Malik Zaire lined up against the Texas defense that turned out to be awful, but he did what he had to do, what he was supposed to do. He churned up the yards and the points. I think the most impressive performance he had was the Music City Bowl that you alluded to at the conclusion of 2014. No tape on him, but he did line up against not what was an exceptional LSU team, or they would not have been performing in Nashville on like December 30th, but an exceptionally talented unit on defense, and he was extremely impressive in that game. Hit on like 12 of 14 or 15 passes, and I specifically remember him threading the needle, delivering the football on time and on target on 2 fourth-down conversions on the last series. So he played in the clutch in that game, in which he didn't have much experience against that type of competition, certainly. So that's my quick take on Malik Zaire. But what will we get 3 years later, almost 2.5 years later, against the Michigan Wolverines? Who knows?